Everybody, Diane Sansom here. Hope you've been enjoying my written blogs and now my new video blogs. Today I want to talk a little bit about how we are capable of so much more than we ever give ourselves credit for. That's all of us. We just, tell a story to ourselves that has us have some sort of limiting belief about what we're capable of, or maybe even there's people in our life that kind of make us feel tamped down, and in the end we just believe we're not capable. Well, I discovered in a really interesting way how much people really are capable of, and this happened with a bunch of children. So if you've read some of my previous blogs, you know that I'm a musician, I'm a cellist, and I've written some things about that. But I want to talk about when I first started teaching and I created a studio in my home called Play More Cello Music Studio. So I ended up with like 18 students ranging in age from 8 to 82. Most of them were kids. There was a 17-year-old kid who came to the studio, and he had some natural ability on the cello and he could learn quickly. And even though he had only played for a few months, he was about to head off to college, and he also wanted to make sure that he could apply in the music program as a music minor. And he wanted an audition piece. Now, the cello is a pretty difficult instrument. It takes a long time to master. So how were we going to do this? I decided to take a shot. I found a piece that was fairly difficult and decided to chunk it down and presented this piece to this 17-year-old student. And then we just set about the task of learning to play it, section by section. And in the end, he did audition for Brigham Young and got into their music minor program. So that was like kind of a big wow for me. And I thought to myself, is this possible to do with some of the younger kids? Because the parents of these younger kids had mentioned that some of these kids were interested in playing in youth symphony, and they were all pretty new students. And at the same time, I should say I was knee-deep in a personal potential leadership program that was all about, calling ourselves forth to achieve bigger things. Okay, so that was in my mind, and I thought, all right, I'm going to try it with this one kid I have. He's 8 years old. He's picked up the cello pretty quickly. He's new, but I wonder if I could teach him the same difficult piece that I taught my teenage student. The piece is Bach's First Cello Suite, and it's the Prelude movement in G major. So difficult, really difficult bowing, lots of shifts, and as you know, a cello isn't like a guitar. There's no frets, so there's a lot to learn. So could it be done? I approached the piece with my 8-year-old student, Dominic, and did the same thing where I chunked it down into pieces and just got him little sections to learn how to play. And over time, he again learned this piece of music and he could play it quite well. So then the question was, well, what about the other kids? They were about 10 and 11. They weren't as talented. Could they learn a really difficult piece like that? And I thought, yeah, I'll just not tell them how hard it is. I'll just create little blocks of information and they can learn this piece, little sections at a time, and I'll gradually add in the difficult stuff. So long story longer, a whole bunch of kids who were brand new cello students auditioned for and got into the Sacramento Youth Symphony. And there's different levels of that symphony, but there it was, right? So when I think about that and I think about how I tie that to what I learned in leadership, a lot of times all we really need, all of us, is to be championed into whatever it is that is our own calling. So in this case, these kids really wanted to be in youth symphony. And my job as their teacher was to believe their brilliance into reality and to believe them forward into achieving their goals. That's what happened. And so here's the thing that I want to ask you. When's the last time that you had an urge that you wanted to follow a situation that had you think, I want to take action in some way, but it really created a challenge. It challenged you to not take action because maybe it felt bigger than you knew how to do? Well, maybe my story might help a little bit, because when I decided to start teaching, it was simply because I had decided, as I mentioned, I did not want to be a professional musician, but something felt kind of unfinished. Like, gosh, I have this gift, and how have I passed it on in any way? And that was the calling, the urge, where I said, I am going to start a music studio. First step, I started Googling information like, how do you get credentialed as a teacher? And it was pretty extensive, and I thought, I don't want to do that, I just want to teach. And it wasn't like I wanted to teach, in a formal school. So I went around and took lessons with advanced cellists and advanced cello teachers as a beginner, just to learn how, they did it. And then I created my own little formula for how I thought I could teach kids, and it was successful. But I did it without a teaching credential, and I did it just from the heart. And here's an unintended impact that happened as a result of me following my urge to teach. So the kids got into these various levels of youth symphony, and I decided to go listen to all of them play in their first symphony concert. I was just expecting to enjoy that moment, but as I sat there looking around at the audience, I noticed that there were people leaning forward in their seats, so excited when their kid or grandkid came on stage. There I was, surrounded by aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters and grandparents and moms and dads, and I suddenly realized that I had played a part in them creating really important memories, family memories, childhood memories, and that's when I knew I had really created something meaningful for myself. And that's important that we do that. It could be in our work in the world, paid or not paid. So if I hadn't followed my original urge, I would never have experienced anything like that. But I had to be willing to get out of my comfort zone. That's the difficult part for all of us. It's a challenge. And when I think back to the very first student that I had that came to my studio, it was the worst possible student, because the parent stayed the whole lesson and I just felt like staring and peering at me to see if I was a fraud or not, and I could feel sweat dripping off of my nose. So sometimes we have to just carry on and just be willing to go through the discomfort of those uncomfortable moments in service to what we're trying to do. And I stayed the course, and because of that, I just got so much joy over the years teaching adults and children how to play the cello. So, I think the point is we all need to deepen the habit of noticing our urges and noticing when we move them into action versus when we don't move them into action. And we want to ask ourselves, what's preventing me from moving this heartfelt desire into action? Now, one thing I will say is we all do need champions to call us forth and to believe our brilliance into reality. In my case, I was knee deep in that leadership program, and so I had lots of people that I was going to for encouragement. But that's what coaching is all about. A lot of people like to work with coaches. That's their champion. And so I'm going to be talking a lot more about these concepts, following urges, being championed, and lots of other things as we move forward in the future. But one of the quotes I want to leave you with today is an African proverb that's so beautiful. And basically it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So looking forward to sharing more with you in upcoming videos. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.